Tansei, bonjour, Anin, Dave McLeod, Indigenous, and welcome. We're coming to you from beautiful Treaty 1 territory. Specifically, we're in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We're at the Broadway Neighborhood Center for Community Connect for Safe at Home Manitoba. And we're meeting artists from throughout the city, all different genres. And in this episode, we're meeting Tuva Bergstrom. Tuva, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So happy to have you here. A little bit about your background. You started your musical journey when you were only 13 years old. You've released 2 EPs, and you're up and coming singer-songwriter here in Winnipeg, and we're gonna get to learn all about you. So first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
How have you been through this pandemic? How have you dealt with it?
Well, it's been boring, a little unproductive, I hate to say, a lot of staying at home, but it's been great. I've been able to, reconnect with my family again and reconnect with my friends in unconventional ways. So it's been an interesting learning experience, yeah.
When you say unconventional way, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, we have our little Zoom parties now, me and my friends, instead of our, regular hangouts, and we have our little Discord voice chats to, sort of substitute that human connection that we're all looking for at the moment. So yeah, it's been interesting.
You're an artist who it's fair to say you're moving your way up from the streets. You literally began singing on the streets, busking, and like you're like 15 years old. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what was that like, busking in Winnipeg at 15?
Oh boy, busking in Winnipeg, it's always fun. You always meet some interesting, fun characters who come to listen to you play, but it was great. It was a super great, way to learn how to project my voice. It helped me a lot, with my confidence when it comes to performing on stage and stuff, and I miss busking a lot. It was like, because, I always have this need to, put on a show, and I think every performer does, and busking was perfect. You could just bring your guitar and bring your license and sing for an hour, and it was super great, yeah.
So you needed a license to busk?
Yeah, I busked mostly at the Forks, and to busk at the Forks you need to apply an audition for a busking license, and then you can busk at any of the spots in the Forks where there's that little busking sign, so for a good 3 years you could find me just scattered around.
I'm really fascinated with just picking up an instrument and singing on the street. Mm-hmm. Just what's it like do you remember the first time you were busking?
Oh, I do, actually. I was technically 14 and I didn't have a license, but my friend did. And we thought it'd be kind of cute to do a duet set. And it was, I don't remember what was happening at the Forks. It was some sort of festival. And me and my friend, we sat there for an hour singing duets. And we got a bunch of money, so we bought a bunch of pizza, and it was super great. But that was, technically my first time busking. And then after that, I'm like, I should get a license. This is kind of great. And I did. What
you've been known for, and I mean, so that's your entry point, and then you're writing songs. And I know the 2 EPs that you've released and the single as well is the you're in touch with your emotions, and that's what people are following you for. They're interested in what you have to say in your lyrics. So tell us a little bit about that process, writing those songs.
Well, I think, particularly there's something about being a teenage girl that is so niche and so special and confusing and terrifying, and it's prime songwriting material, right? And I guess in that sense, I am grateful to have been a dramatic teenage girl, because that's really where, the most, the biggest feelings of your life come from that point in your life. And that's kind of what I wanted to write about, and what I want to portray in my music is that teenage girl angst that, it's inescapable, and it's the biggest deal of your life. And that's kind of where a lot of my songs and lyrics come from.
Well, let's talk about one of those songs, Break Up Over the Holidays. What's this song? It ties in exactly what you just said. So how did that come about?
So Break Up With Her Over the Holidays originally kind of started off as a school project, but then turned super personal, because at the time I was angry about a bunch of stuff. I was angry with people. I was angry about love. So I took this song that I wrote for like a book report, and I just decided to like angstify it and just like punkify it, even though I'm not like necessarily a punk musician. I thought it'd be pretty fun. And, it's kind of, about a person who is indecisive and who can't make up their mind and who ends up, damaging people in the process. And yeah, that's kind of what the song is about, is, kind of a frustration and resentfulness towards people who string you along their emotional journeys and leave you kind of battered in the end unintentionally. And that was kind of what the song was about.
And where do you connect inspiration to write those kind of songs? Is it, is there artists that you look up to that have inspired you?
Ooh, yes. Well, for a while I was greatly inspired by 21 Pilots and My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy and kind of bands like that. But then as I grew older, I started, getting inspiration from Phoebe Bridgers, from Mumford and Sons, from The Killers, and I kind of went more like down an indie-centric folk route instead of this like kind of like emo pop punk area where I started. So it's changed a lot, my inspirations.
So you've grown just over the last 3 years as a musician songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
You were involved with the CBC's Project POV, and basically it was like an audio documentary. Tell us about that experience.
Ooh. Well, Project POV was super, super fun because I'm super into, podcasts and journaling and writing and stuff like that. So through my high school, through Gordon Bell, we kind of got this opportunity to get paired up with somebody at CBC who was your mentor, who would help you kind of create this project. And it could be whatever you wanted, as long as it was kind of out of your point of view, which was where, the Project POV came from. And I thought it'd be cool to do mine on the local music scene, because I have a bunch of friends who are involved in the music scene. I absolutely adore the Winnipeg music scene. And so I thought that would be kind of like a neat little project to do, yeah.
And part of that being involved with the music scene is Manitoba music.
Yes.
How is that connected with what you're doing?
Well, Manitoba music is great, and that's kind of where I got my like push into figuring out what like the community even was, because I was pretty lost. I went to like local shows and stuff, and I was like, I guess this is cool. But I did this mentorship through Manitoba Music with like 8 other artists, and we put on our own showcase and stuff. We had to like work around like how to work with the music industry. We called ourselves The Biz, and we had this whole showcase, and that was kind of when I like gained access to like a lot of insight on the Winnipeg music scene, and I met a bunch of people who work like behind the scenes with like venues and stuff and booking and artist management. And I realized there's like a whole bunch of stuff going on, and it's super cool. And yeah, Manitoba Music was pretty great with that.
So if somebody's watching this and they're not from Winnipeg, new to Winnipeg, or wanting to know, how would you define the music industry here, or the scene itself? Because I mean, you delved into punk, even like different genres. Can you share a bit about that?
Well, the Winnipeg music scene, despite the fact that it's like massive and super cool, and there's always stuff going on, is like so overlooked by so many people that live in Winnipeg. Like before COVID, there was shows every week, all the time, at like Bulldogs, at the West End Cultural Center, at the Goodwill, and like some of the best friends I've met my entire life are people who I've met from going to these shows who are like in a band, and then they go and like watch the other bands, and the next thing you know, you're in a mosh pit together and you're best friends, right? And it's amazing. It's like every time I go to a show, it's like my version of like going to a nightclub, because I'm not a nightclub person, but I go to a show, I see everyone I know, I see all these bands who are like working their butts off in this, these trying musical times, and it's great. Oh, it's so cool. I love the music scene here, yeah.
I want to ask you a little bit about your writing process. So how do you go about writing? Are you using a notebook? Are you taking notes throughout your day? What's your approach?
So when I start writing a song, it's usually always lyrics first, and it's usually like when I'm taking a shower, and I'll be like, in the morning, I'll like take a shower, and I'll be like upset over something that had like happened the day before, and I'll be like thinking about it, and then like I'll say something in my head about the situation that sounds like kind of funky and kind of catchy, and I'm like, yo, this could be a song lyric. And like I'll go to my room, and I'm like, oh, here's some chords, and then I just sort of take my notes app and just sort of splurge, just random mumbo jumbo for a while until I kind of come up with the first verse, and I'm like, well, this is kind of funky, now we can do a chorus, and that's kind of how it builds from there. And it's usually all just like brain dumping until stuff sort of like strings together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the examples is a video you put together. It was like it was October. It was working with CBC and Just TV. So you put together a music video, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And it did speak to that scene that you mentioned earlier. What can you share about that experience?
Putting together the video was super fun because it kind of, gave me an excuse to see my friends again after I hadn't seen them in like a while.
And that tied into graduation day?
Yeah.
Because you couldn't have a graduation.
Yeah, and I was, oh my gosh, when I found out that we weren't getting a proper graduation, I was so mad because I was never like that great at school. School wasn't my thing, but like the whole like thing was like, well, at least I'm gonna get to like walk down the aisle and like throw my cap. At least we get that. At least we get the dinner. And I was like, I graduated. It was great. And then they're like, yeah, no, I guess you can like come pick up your diploma. Bye. And I was like, oh. And so I got really upset about that. But then I decided to write like a kind of like happier folky song about how angry I was over that. And then I kind of just tied it in towards like, my feelings towards my friends and how it was hard that I couldn't, see them during this pandemic, and how I wished I could just, give them all a hug and hang out again. But yeah, that's kind of where the song came from.
Well, and it was really good representative of your friendship. I mean, it was fun to watch. So you obviously have some great friends.
I do, yeah.
And some of the music you've recorded and you've gotten out there, like you've got some songs on Spotify. Can you share about that?
Well, I have my EP July out on Spotify, and I have Break Up With Her Over the Holidays out on Spotify, and hopefully once I get into the swing of recording from home, I can have more stuff on Spotify, because Spotify's pretty swanky. And well, that's kind of all I can say about that.
And we're going to be hearing a song from you entitled Mattress on the Ground?
Yes.
What is this song about? Because the title definitely gets your attention. It's like, what is this about?
So, Mattress on the Ground, I wrote it because my friend was making this zine. Are they called zines or zines? A zine, yeah. They're called zines, yeah. She was making a zine, and it was kind of supposed to be about like safe spaces and, comfort spaces and stuff. And she was like, hey, you should submit a song for this. And I was like, oh, I know it makes me feel safe, and it's when I'm with, my best friend and we're having a sleepover and, we're just sitting on a mattress on the ground. That was kind of like my comfort space, so I thought it'd be nice to write a song about that.
Well, we're thrilled you're here to share with us, and thank you so much for sharing some of the musical experience you've had in this city over the last few years. And I agree, like this is an incredible city for the amount of talent that exists here and community support. So let's take a listen to Tuva Bergstrom singing her song Mattress on the Ground.
Backyard baby, what are you hiding from? Sure, it's cold, but the morning's just begun. You look at your reflection and you see what you've become. So you climb on back to bed while your face is getting numb. Here we go, here we go. Eyes of mine, you're living for. I'd like to be there with you in perfect bloom. She told me that she loved me, and I'll die with that. Right here on the hill that we climbed a day back. Help me up the stairs and I'll fall into the couch. Little pillow fortress and a mattress on the ground. Here we go, here living for.